The year was 1939. A dark cloud hung over Europe. The seeds of conflict had been sown, planted by the Treaty of Versailles and watered by economic hardship and political instability. In Germany, a charismatic leader named Adolf Hitler had risen to power, promising to restore his nation to its former glory. His ambitions, however, extended far beyond Germany's borders. On September 1, 1939, the world watched in horror as Hitler's armies marched into Poland, their tanks and troops crushing everything in their path. World War II had begun. The fall of Poland sent shockwaves across the globe. Great Britain and France, honoring their commitments, declared war on Germany. The Soviet Union, having signed a non-aggression pact with Germany, watched from the sidelines, eager to claim its share of the spoils. The United States, clinging to its isolationist policies, declared neutrality. Though many Americans watched the unfolding events in Europe with growing apprehension, the invasion of Poland showcased the devastating effectiveness of the German Blitzkrieg. This new form of warfare, characterized by lightning-fast attacks and the coordinated use of tanks, aircraft, and infantry, caught the Polish defenders completely off guard. German panzer divisions, spearheaded by tanks like the fearsome Tiger and supported by dive bombers like the Stuka, punched through Polish lines, bypassing strong points and sowing chaos and confusion. The Luftwaffe, Germany's air force, played a crucial role in the Polish campaign. German bombers targeted Polish airfields, communication centers, and transportation networks, crippling the Polish ability to resist. The skies over Poland filled with the roar of engines and the thunder of explosions as German aircraft rained down death and destruction. With Poland crushed under the heel of the Nazi boot, Hitler turned his attention westward, towards France and Great Britain. Denmark and Norway fell in rapid succession, victims of swift and brutal German invasions. In May of 1940, the might of the German army smashed through the Ardennes forest, outflanking the French defenses and driving deep into the heart of France. The French army, once considered the most powerful in Europe, crumbled under the relentless German onslaught. Paris, the City of Lights, fell to the Germans on June 14, 1940. The French government, demoralized and defeated, signed an armistice with Germany, dividing the country in two. The northern half, including Paris, would be occupied by Germany, while the southern half would be ruled by a puppet government headquartered in the spa town of Vichy. Great Britain, now standing alone against the Nazi menace, braced itself for invasion. Winston Churchill, the newly appointed Prime Minister, rallied the British people, vowing to fight on the beaches, in the fields, in the streets, and in the hills. "We shall never surrender," he declared, his words echoing across a nation facing its darkest hour. The Battle of Britain, a pivotal air campaign that would determine the fate of a nation, began in July of 1940. The Luftwaffe, under the command of Hermann Göring, launched a series of massive air raids against British airfields, radar stations, and factories, hoping to cripple the Royal Air Force and pave the way for a German invasion. Section 4. A Day of Infamy. While the Battle of Britain raged in the skies over Europe, a new threat emerged in the Pacific. Japan, an expansionist power with its own imperial ambitions, had been steadily expanding its influence in Asia, clashing with Chinese forces in a brutal and protracted conflict. The United States, alarmed by Japan's aggression, imposed economic sanctions on Japan, hoping to curb its expansionist ambitions. These sanctions, however, had the opposite effect. Japan, heavily reliant on American oil and steel, felt threatened and cornered. The Japanese military, dominated by a hawkish faction that believed war with the United States was inevitable, began planning a surprise attack that would cripple the American Pacific Fleet and give Japan a decisive advantage in the Pacific. On the morning of December 7, 1941, Japanese aircraft carriers, lurking undetected in the vastness of the Pacific Ocean, launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, the main American naval base in the Pacific. The attack, a devastating blow to American naval power, shocked and outraged the American people. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, addressing a joint session of Congress, declared December 7, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. Section 5. The Tide Turns. The entry of the United States into the war marked a turning point in the conflict. The United States, with its vast industrial capacity, played a decisive role in the Allied victory. The road to victory was long and arduous, paved with sacrifice. In Europe, the war raged on. The Battle of Midway was a decisive American victory in the Pacific War. D-Day marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. The liberation of Paris in August 1944 signaled the weakening of Nazi power.